Self-induction and mutual induction. Self-induction is the phenomenon of inducing an EMF in a coil due to change in current in the same coil. It involves single coil, whereas mutual induction involves two coils. So you've got a coil like this, and because of the change in what current in the same coil, there is an EMF induced here. So it means the magnetic flux here is dependent on the amount of current passed through the coil. So the flux is proportional to the current. And let us introduce the proportionality constant, and here it is called self-inductance L into I. So phi is equal to Li. Phi is equal to Li, where L is the constant of proportionality, and that is also called the self-inductance. Therefore, self-inductance is nothing but phi by I from this equation. Now let us analyze the unit of this self-inductance. You know L is equal to phi by I. Let me consider I as 1 ampere. So in that case, L becomes what? That is phi. So it means the self-inductance is equal to the flux linked with the coil when 1 ampere is passed through that. So how to define this L? It is the self-inductance of the coil when 1 ampere current is passed. That is called self-inductance. That it is the flux linked with the coil where 1 ampere current is passed through. So that is called L. And we were talking about these induced EMF. So we can call it E is equal to minus d phi by dt. Okay, minus E d phi by dt. Where the rate of change of flux is represented by d phi by dt. So this is the minus that we already discussed according to Lenz's law. So minus d phi by dt. And we know already phi is equal to what? Li. So we can replace this phi. Therefore, that is minus d instead of phi you can put Li. So Li by dt. L is constant. We already declared as constant. L is constant, proportionality constant. And therefore, that is the mutual inductance here. So therefore, it is given by L can be taken outside the differentiation. So we can call it minus, that is, L can be brought outside. So minus L into di by dt. That is equal to the induced EMF. Now, from this, we can calculate we can determine the L, the self-inductance. So, from this, L is equal to what? That is the mod E minus divided by, you can bring this di by dt straight away. So, di by dt. And when you put it in the modulus, so let us consider the magnitude only. So, in that case, L is equal to, what is that? So, that is modulus of this induced EMF divided by di by dt. We take the absolute quantity, and we know already that is What about this di by dt, which is nothing but 1 ampere per second? Okay, 1 ampere per second. Now, let us consider, as we already discussed, L is equal to 5 by I. So, in this case, what is this 5 Weber? Is it not? Divided by I, ampere. So, it means Weber per ampere, ampere inverse. That is called Henry. Okay. So, 1 Henry is equal to what? That is 1 Weber per ampere. Okay. So this is the unit of L. We already know E is equal to minus L into di by dt. So based on this, what is L? L is equal to, let us consider the E modulus, because modulus minus comes here. So take the positive value divided by di by dt. So when you say di by dt, this part is 1 ampere per second. 1 ampere per second. So what about this di by dt? This is 1 ampere per second. Okay. Then what about this? This is given in volt. Therefore, L can also be explained as what? 1 volt into, that is 1 volt by 1 ampere. You can call it ampere per second. It means volt second divided by ampere. It means volt second per ampere. That is called Henry also. So Henry has two meanings here. So this is in terms of volt, this is second, this is ampere. Okay. So the H can be represented as Weber per ampere or volt second per ampere. Okay. And this volt second is nothing but volt into, volt by ampere. What is volt by ampere according to Ohm's law? V is equal to IR and R is equal to V by I. So volt per ampere. So 1 ohm, that is omega is equal to volt per ampere. So you can take this volt per ampere as ohm. So you can call it ohm, that is omega second. That is also Henry. So it means a Henry can have three possible units. What are those? One is Weber per ampere. Another is, what is that? Ohm second, volt second per ampere. Okay. So likewise, you can have three units. Now let us move to the self-inductance. The self-inductance of long solenoid coil. What do you mean by solenoid coil? This is one turn coil. If it contains n number of turns wound along a cylindrical pattern, that is called solenoid, right? So this is solenoid coil. So in this case, the self-inductance of coil depends on the geometry of the coil. So self-inductance depends on geometry of the coil. Or how about the shape, etc. So self-inductance is equal to mu zero. What is mu zero? permeability through free space. This is with regard to the medium. So mu naught, then n squared, then A whole divided by L. So this is given by, and what about this A? Area enveloped by this coil. It is not ampere, area enclosed by the coil. So you can call it a solenoid cross section. So if the area increases, inductance increases. If the number of turns increases, inductance increases. If L increases, inductance decreases. Okay, it is inversely proportional. So what is N? The total number of turns of solenoid. A is the area enveloped by the solenoid, that is the coil in the solenoid. L is the length of the solenoid. So this is the length of the solenoid. And this is overall length, that is n number of turns of coil. So this is regarding the permeability. We talk about the permeability, and when we consider a particular material, then we can call it permeability of that particular material. So you have to call it mu r, relative permeability. We know already mu r is equal to mu by mu m, I mean mu m divided by mu naught. Therefore, mu m is equal to mu naught in mu r into mu naught, where mu m is the permeability, no, of a particular material, permeability, and here relative permeability, and this one the vacuum. So in this case, which material is put, whether we have got any uh, difference in the material between the coil, etc. So that depends. Whether it is a air core or vacuum or any other material, so it depends. So let us consider a particular material Lm. So in that case, what you're supposed to do, instead of mu naught, you have to put mu naught mu r, because we will put first mu m, n squared a divided by L, and that is a further mu m can be expanded in this way. This is m. So mu m is expanded as mu r into mu naught, and then n squared, then a whole divided by L. Okay. Next one. Now let us move to, before that, I would like to define mu r also. So what is mu r? Based on that, let us consider mu r, relative permeability. So the relative permeability is nothing but Lm divided by L. Okay. So this is particularly in air, and this is some other material. So inductance in air, self-inductance in air, and this is self-inductance of particular material apart from air. So mu r can be determined based on the ratio between the inductance observed in a material divided by, that is Lm divided by L, L in presence of air. Now let us discuss about mutual inductance. As I already mentioned, when you consider two coils, okay, there arises mutual inductance. Two coils. So the flux in the second depends on the current passing through the first coil. Okay. So the flux linked with the second coil, that is coil 2, is proportional to the current passing through. For example, let me have a primary coil, a secondary coil. So this is 1, this is 2. And this is the current passing through this coil. This is current passing through the secondary coil. And because of this, it is induced. And so in that case, the magnetic flux, this is phi 2 and here phi 1. Okay. So the phi 2, that is this one, depends on the current passing through the first coil, primary coil. Similarly, and you can introduce the constant, proportional constant, here mutual inductance into I1 is equal to phi 2. So what do you understand from this? M can be indicated as a M21. It means that is mutual inductance of the coil 2 due to coil 1. Okay, so what is this? Mutual inductance of coil 2 due to coil 1. So similarly, you have phi 1 is due to I2. So in that case, phi 1 is equal to here M12 into I2. Okay. So this is also represented as phi 2 is equal to M21 into I1. So in that case, 1 2 means what? That is inductance, mutual inductance of coil 1 due to coil 2. Okay. Now let us further elaborate. As we have already discussed, that is, let me take the phi 1, phi 2, that is proportional to I1. So that is equal to, we said that is M21 into I1. That is equal to phi 2. Now let us calculate what is M21, which is nothing but the ratio between phi 2 and I1, the current. So in that case, when I1 is 1 ampere and M21 becomes the phi 2. So we can derive the unit in the similar fashion. So SI unit, that is for mutual inductance, is equal to Weber, because phi divided by ampere, Weber per ampere. And this is Weber per ampere is 1 Henry. You can call it Henry. And as we already established, this is also called ohm second. Okay, so 1 ohm second. Similarly, we can have the E2 also. So E2 will be what? So let us derive d phi 2 divided by dt. D phi 2 divided by dt. This is the induced EMF. And this induced EMF is equal to, now we can put, that is minus d divided by dt of, instead of phi 2, you can take M21 I1. So M21 I1 in is equal to E2. So from this we can find out M21 also. So this M21, let us consider this M minus M21 is equal to what? E divided by And this being constant, so you can put it like this, minus M21 into di1 divided by dt. You can bring this here. So di1 divided by dt. And let us consider the magnitude. So we can put M21. So that is equal to E divided by di1 by dt. Okay. And you can mention this as E2. That is induced EMF in the second coil. Similarly, this mutual inductance can be based on the number of turns of coil. Not only one coil, you have got two coils, and it is based on the permeability. I mean, the permeability is also very important. So N1, instead of one number of turns, you have got two number of turns. So number of turns in primary coil, number of turns in the secondary coil, into area enveloped by the coil, enclosed by the coil, divided by length of the solenoid, or length of the coil. So from this, it is clear that mutual inductance depends on number of turns of primary coil, number of turns of secondary coil. Secondly, M also depends on the material of the core of the coil. So it depends on the material of core of the coil. Core of the coil means what? This is the coil and this is the inner core. So in what material it is made, based on that this will change. Then M depends on the relative separation and orientation of the coils, of the two coils. So larger the separation between the coils, smaller will be the mutual inductance. And also when you keep the coil like this, one coil is kept like this, another coil is kept like this, means there is lowest mutual inductance. And when you keep like this, one coil is like this, another coil is wound like this. Okay, so this leads to maximum mutual inductance. Why? Because we already discussed the distance is a very important character here. So separation between the coil, when it is increasing, that is mutual inductance decreases. When it decreases, this increases. Okay. Now the coefficient of coupling of two coils. So here the coefficient of coupling is called K, is equal to the mutual inductance divided by the whole square root of L1, L2. Actually, M is proportional to the square root of L1, L2, and the proportionality constant is K here, which is nothing but the coefficient of coupling. So K into square root of L1, L2. So from this we can find out the K. So K is equal to M divided by the square root of L1 divided by L2. Here the L represents the inductance. It's not length, inductance. So when the, let us talk about the group of coils, like in the case of group of the joining of resistors in parallel and series, Likewise, you can connect the coils in parallel and series also. So this is called the grouping of coils. So one can be series grouping, another is parallel, that is coils in parallel. So series means you've got the coil like this, coil 1, coil 2. So it's mutual, self-inductance is L1, L2. So the effective inductance is LS series is equal to L1 plus L2. So in the case of a series, by the combination of induction coils, the LS increases. But in the case of a parallel, you can observe that L parallel connection is equal to 1 by L1 plus 1 by L2 and so on. It goes on increasing based on the number of. So let me consider this. Here I have put one coil and I have put another coil. So this is L1, this is L2, both of them are parallel. So in that case, how about the connections? That is 1 by LP is equal to 1 by L1 plus L2. So let us take LCM L1, L2, here L2 plus L1. That can also be called L1 plus L2 divided by LP. So in that case, what is LP? LP is equal to L1, L2 divided by L1 plus L2. So the combined self-inductance in the case of parallel, it is minimum, whereas here maximum, it increases. And there is one more concept called non-inductive resistance. Yeah, resistance without inductance is called non-inductive resistance. It is obtained by non-inductive winding. It is done by two ways. The first wire is doubled over itself, and the second is wound in the form of a coil. So due to the currents in the second half, actually the the current flowing through this will be in positive direction. For example, you have got one and here you are connecting and it is returning and it goes to the second one. Now one passes through here and another is passing here. It goes like this, like a loop. So when they are moving in opposite direction, this is in the opposite direction. So when the current moves in the opposite direction, they cancel out each other. So cancel each other. And that is why it is called non-inductive. So without the interference of inductance, it goes on with the resistant boxes. The energy stored in induction or inductance coil, energy stored, inductance coil is given by U, the energy that is equal to similar to this. For kinetic energy, you call it a half mv squared, and here potential, the potential here, the energy, potential energy is given as half into Li squared, where L is the what self-inductance. So self-inductance into current passing through the I squared. So here the U is equal to the energy stored. The energy stored per unit volume is also expressed as B squared divided by 2 mu naught, where B is the magnetic field. Now we are coming to the last part, that is AC generator.